Today we are going to continue our discussion with Dr. Rao, who introduces his two books and analyzes the environmental issues from religious and spiritual aspect. Dr. Saris Krishna Rao graduated in 1986 from Stanford University, USA, receiving a PhD in electrical engineering. For the first 20 years after graduation, he actively served society as a systems specialist and was involved in the creation of new communication technologies in support of the internet. Though extremely successful in his professional career, he was inspired to make a significant change after watching former Vice President Al Gore's presentation about global warming in December 2005. Dr. Rao then founded the non-profit organization Climate Healers in 2007. Dr. Saris Rao also wrote books to raise people's awareness: Carbon Dharma, The Occupation of Butterflies, and Carbon Yoga, The Vegan Metamorphosis are two of his most important works.
I wrote the first book, Carbon Dharma, in 2011, and because Dharma is what is the right thing to do. And it's very easy to understand that. The right thing to do is to stop killing. When our killing is causing the planet to die, we should stop the killing. So that was easy for us to do. And then yoga is about how do you do it. So it's a process. So how do you get to balance with nature? How do you get to be in alignment with who you really are? And so that took me 5 years. And so I wanted to tell a story where we do belong exactly as we are. So we are part of the ecosystem, and therefore we are going to change. And so it is part of our process. So we are going from this caterpillar phase where we are consuming like crazy and destroying the planet to the butterfly phase. So that's the transition that is going to happen in the next 8 years. We begin with the assumption that everything happens for the best in the Hindu philosophy. Everything happens for the best. So God is always in charge. Okay? You are just a tool of the God. So in fact, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, it's only when you wake up, right, you realize that you have been played all along. So until then, you think you have free will, even though you really didn't. The story that's told is that everything happens for the best. So therefore, everything you're doing is also part of God's work, except you don't understand what it is now. So the theory that we have in Carbon Yoga, I wrote this hypothesis of the thermostat species. So we are the species, the only species that is able to control the temperature on the planet.
Once we realize that we are species that belong to this earth, we can begin to be caring and loving to all beings on this planet we call home. So the driving force of Mr. Rao's work is to convince all of his fellow human beings that we belong on earth exactly as we are.
So we shouldn't buy into the separation story, the separation that we are the only species that doesn't belong, that we do belong exactly as we are. You see, I was observing elephants in the Western Ghats of India. And at first glance, the elephant seems very destructive because she's breaking branches of trees and eating the leaves, throwing the branches away. She's trampling on the bushes as she's walking through the forest and really, literally killing the bushes. And she drops these huge mounds of poop, wherever she's walking around. And so it looks like she's a very destructive animal. But then when you step back and observe what is happening, you see that wherever she broke the branches, that's where the sunlight streams and nourishes the underbrush. And wherever she walked, that's where it creates pathways in the forest for all the animals to use. And wherever she drops huge amounts of poop, you get a new jackfruit tree because her poop has jackfruit seeds. So everything the elephant does actually helps the forest, even though at first glance it looks like it was destructive. So we are exactly the same, except we have a much longer time span. So we have done a lot of destructive things, but in the process, we have understood who we are, and we have become truly the thermostat species. In fact, Jim Hansen, who is a climate scientist, has said that until human beings disappear, there will be no more ice ages on Earth. Okay? So there will be no more ice ages as long as we are around. which means it's our job to maintain the temperature on Earth so that it never goes into an ice age. And it doesn't also go up, so you don't create unnecessary fevers on Earth. So we then maintain the environment for all the other animals. Then in the last 200 years or 300 years, we have caused the temperature to rise by about 1 degree Celsius. And that is the fever that the Earth has. But in the process of causing that, we developed all the technologies that we need to understand what we did the first 10,000 years and now do that same work consciously. So we can now consciously keep the temperature constant at the level that it was 200 years ago without deforestation. In fact, we have to reforest now to bring the temperature back down, and then we can hold it constant, with our technologies. So we have thermometers all over the place. We have satellite technology, so we understand what's happening around the world. We understand the external world much, much better than we did 200 years ago. So this is our job. So we do belong on Earth as the thermostat species.
Let's take a stroll in the forest and appreciate nature's messages for us. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned to Spray Master Television. Welcome back, enlightened viewers. According to Dr. Rao, the environmental issues originate from people's internal states, and he reflects that we need to develop our spiritual and cultural attainment along with technological advancement.
Right. So fundamentally, in our environmental problems, we see from the outside, you see ecosystems are collapsing, we see deserts are growing, and then we see climate is changing, and all the pollution. It looks like it is an external problem, but it really is an internal problem for each one of us, because what you're seeing out there is just a collection of all of our inner selves. Okay? So Gus Peth, who was the Dean of Environmental Studies at Yale University, he said the 3 major environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. So to address them, you need a spiritual development and cultural development as opposed to a development in technology, right? So, and I think it is fundamentally something that all religions teach. All religions teach that selflessness is actually a selfishness. It's actually the highest form of selfishness, because when you're selfless, it comes back to you. So people who are selfish, who show rank selfishness, just haven't understood that. Okay, so all of us, when we are selfless, we discover that we are doing good for ourselves as well. Okay, so this is one of the simple lessons that we need to teach our children. We need to teach all the adults. And instead of greed, generosity. So generosity actually gives you more in abundance than greed does, okay, in general. Okay, and apathy is something that we all need to overcome, because it's our responsibility to bring the earth into balance again, to heal the climate. It's each one of us has to act. If we want it, it'll be there.
In order to realize our noble goal of healing the world, both outwardly and inwardly, what is the most urgent thing to do at the moment? Dr. Rao has the answer.
So it's the most urgent thing that needs to happen from a cultural perspective is the rise of veganism. Because veganism in diet, in clothing, in everything we do, if we eliminate the use of animal products, we're eliminating deliberate violence that is happening today, all the cruelty that's happening today. And if you see someone beating a dog with a stick, right, the first thing you need to do is to stop the person from beating the dog with a stick. Then you can go heal the dog, right, take him to the vet and so on. So it's the same thing here. When humanity is killing more animals in 4 to 12 hours than all the humans that died in wars throughout human history, the first thing we need to do is to stop the killing. Then we can heal the planet. Okay? So, but if you try to heal the planet while the killing is continuing, it's a tough job, right? It's almost impossible to do that. It's like trying to heal the dog while the person is beating the dog. So I think all religions have at their foundation compassion. And it's actually compassion for all life. That's at the foundation of all religions. In that sense, every religion is vegan to begin with. And then we start adding things to it, rituals, and over time it gets distorted. And then we say, okay, how do we kill animals? And we get into that other mode, which pulls us away from the foundation of that religion. But at its core, all religions at their core are about compassion for all life.
For more information about Dr. Saris Rao and climate healers, please visit www.climatehealers.org.
All information concerning the scientific evidence of climate change and its solution is in Supreme Master Ching Hai's book, From Crisis to Peace, free to download at crisistopeace.org.